Hi there everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Prestige Liquids. My name is Andrew, and as always it is fantastic to have you here with me again on another whiskey review video. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for joining me along my journey so far. I always appreciate and love having you all here with me. And if you're new to the channel, then make sure you hit that bell notification and the subscription button so that you can stay up to date with all future content. Now, I don't know if many of you follow me on Instagram as well, which you can do so under the same name, PrestigeLiquidsWW. You may notice that a lot of, well, most of my posts that I put up on my Instagram page are all black and white shots. And I thought, you know what, today, stuff it, let's have some fun, and I'll do the video in black and white as well. So I guess here is my first black and white whiskey review video. So I thought, let's see how we go. Now in today's video I am going to be reviewing the Ardbeg An Oa. Now this is a Scottish single malt. It is distilled and bottled, etc. all on the Isle of Islay, as mentioned, in Scotland. So for all of you peat crazy people out there, obviously you know pretty much Islay is the home of peat. So let's pour some into my glass and let's start getting on with the tasting. Now, free advice tip here: save your corks. When I bought this bottle, the cork was already dried out and already starting to break up. So just so you know, Macallan corks fit Ardbeg bottles pretty damn well. So save your corks, you never know when you're going to need them. Now this has been aged in, say, new charred oak, PX sherry casks, and also ex-bourbon casks. Apparently there are a few other cask types that are used for aging this whiskey, but unfortunately that information wasn't disclosed on the website, so I'm not sure what the other cask types are. If you do know, please drop a comment down below so that way you can educate myself and others who may be wondering the same thing. Now this is an NAS single malt, so non-age statement. It's non-chill filtered, natural colored, and bottled at 46.6% ABV. So that's a lot of information there that I guess a lot of us whiskey drinkers enjoy to see on our bottles. All right, let's get on with the review and let's see what we get. So, on the nose, cheers. Okay, so the nose is what you would expect of classic Islay. It's peaty, it's smoky, salty. It's just got that beautiful coastal sea breeze. It's oily, or I should say it smells oily. Haven't tasted it yet, so we don't really, that's kind of jumping ahead, isn't it? It has a wet charcoal note. I love that barrel char influence. It's surprisingly fruity as well, considering that Ardbeg have that reputation of big, strong, heavy peat and smoke. There's more subtlety to it as well. It's not just smoke and peat. There is a lot more going on. Please excuse the plane going over. It might add to the atmosphere, let's say, give it an old war feel to it. Okay, so after you get past the smoke and the peat, start to expect things like apples, pears. You're definitely going to get those bourbon cask influence. Vanilla, honey, burnt grass. I would also like to mention as well that a lot of those notes that I just gave also have a nice smoky mixture to it as well. So imagine again, like those apples, pears, vanilla have all been smoked. I'm not really picking up as much of, say, like the sherry cask influence as I would like to. But it does have a very light, like dense grape note, but you do have to search for it. It's not something that is very obvious. I would have to say that the bourbon cask influence is a lot more prominent on this than, say, the sherry influence. All right, let's move along to the palate and let's see what we get. So cheers. Oh, that mouthfeel is amazing. It's thick, it's dry, it's spicy. There's a lot of white pepper that I'm getting as well. I'm not sure if any French oak has been used in the maturation process for this, but that white pepper is definitely something that I get usually on, say, French oak finishes. It's got this dense oak and wood smoke. The smoke is actually quite dry and dehydrating. You will notice that it just fills your mouth and just saps away like all the moisture and then just like brings it back again. The smoke is incredible. I have to say the smoke influence that I'm getting on this in some ways is quite similar to a Lagavulin, but then once the smoke goes away, you get more of that coastal sea breeze and like I guess, yeah, coastal salt air, seaweed and things like that that are usually a bit more associated with something like Lefroy. So I guess the initial tasting is kind of, for me anyway, it's kind of like a combination of, say, like a Lefroy and Lagavulin combined. Again, I'm getting more of that wet charcoal note. It's just, it's so much going on. Alright, so also expect a bit of sulfur. Imagine the note that you would get, say, from striking a matchstick. Now, a while ago I had reviewed the Ardbeg 10, and one really strange note that I had gotten on that I wasn't expecting was cucumber. Now, I don't know how the hell that came around. Now, I am not getting that this time around, but the obscure note that I'm picking up this time is actually banana. It's just like a soft, sweet banana that I'm getting at the moment. I really was not expecting that at all. I've almost finished this bottle, and that's not something that I've noticed before. So I'm glad to see that I guess that the flavors are kind of changing as you go through the bottle, and I guess maybe my palate is starting to develop a bit more as well. So yeah, definitely I have to say there is a light banana note. I'm also getting those apples, pears. I think the palate is definitely where the sherry influence is starting to come in. I am now starting to get things like figs and stewed fruits. So imagine like the stewed apples that you would use for, say, like an apple pie, It's quite creamy as well. I'm getting a bit of vanilla cream, which is very enjoyable. This is definitely one of those whiskies that just keeps opening up and evolving. It would really take me too long to bring out like every note that you could pick out in this whiskey, because it does just keep going and going. So I won't waffle on too long, because otherwise this will become like a 30-minute video, and we don't want that. I'm also starting to get things like cereal grain as well, so I'm getting things like cornflakes, oats as well. Um, Also cashew. It's got a little bit of like a light nuttiness to it, and that nut is definitely cashew. Moving along to the finish, as how would you describe this? I mean, obviously Ardbeg has a reputation of always being very intense, full flavored, and in your face, and that is kind of like the notes that you get so far, um, like for the nosing and the palate. But the finish is surprisingly soft. I mean, you would expect something, I say, from the notes that I've described so far, you would expect a finish that is almost brutal, but it's not. It's very soft, it's mellow, again, very smoky. The smoke note is definitely a prominent feature from beginning to end of this whiskey, no doubt about that. So on the finish, again, it's like you are breathing up smoke. But then again, you've just got these nice, soft, sweeter notes that start coming through on the finish. So imagine, I guess, honey, caramel, a bit of burnt sugar, and a very light apple note as well, that kind of just ties everything all together in like a nice little neat package. Um, this is definitely, I think, a great entry level into Ardbeg. I know a lot of people do tend to, I guess, dump on the NAS expressions of Ardbeg, and I think that is more so because they do have so many of them. I guess a lot of us would like to see, I guess, more like proper age statement releases from Ardbeg. But hey, I have to say the NAS releases are just as good as the age statements. So here's to not complaining too much. At least the whiskey itself is really good. Like I said, I have to say, I really enjoyed this. This is a fantastic example of what Ardbeg is capable of. I will definitely be replacing this if I come across another bottle once I finish it. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Like otherwise this video will just be going on for far too long, and then you'll all get bored. So I will leave it at that. My name is Andrew. I'll see you all again on the next video. KIPPIS.